Right, so good evening, everybody. We're here at Guildhall today for the Standards Committee. There's no fire alarm planned for this meeting. Should the alarm sound, please leave via the nearest available emergency exit. Two of the closest exits are through the glass door behind you to my left and through the double doors onto the riverside behind you. Please can you meet at Café des Amis. Members of the public are welcome to make their own recordings of the meeting using whatever non-disruptive methods they think are suitable. I would like to remind everybody present at this meeting is being minuted, recorded, filmed and made available to view in live and archive form via the Council's website. If you're seated in the public gallery, it is possible that cameras may capture your image, and if you wish to avoid being filmed, it is recommended that you make a member of the staff aware so that we can direct you where to sit. The role of this committee is to promote high standards of conduct from the Council's elected representatives. It does this by considering relevant new guidance and legislation that is referred to it by the monitoring officer and advising on any reviews of procedures and policies relating to them. It can also deal with any complaints referred by the monitoring officer about breaches to the Code of Conduct and considers the annual governance report. The membership is made up of city councillors and non-voting parish co-opted representatives, of whom we've had a couple of guests this evening. Do you want to introduce the guests, please?
Thank you, Chair. Could I first introduce Shanice Sparks? Shanice, would you like to just say a few words? Thank you, Shanice. Welcome. Do we have a card for Alan as well? Okay, I was also going to introduce Alan Atkinson. Card on the way. There we go.
I'm Alan Atkinson. I've been on the Standards Committee for some while as a representative of the parish councils. I'm Chairman of Bridge Parish Council.
Thank you, Alan.
Would you like to introduce the independent member as well, please? Thank you.
And I'd like to introduce one of our independent persons. The local authority are by statute required to appoint at least one independent person. And tonight we have here Jackie Dabner.
Hello, yes, I'm one of 3 independent persons and I expect you all know our role, but it's basically we look at review cases of complaints that are put to us by the monitoring officer.
Okay, thanks for that. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies received, Chair.
Any substitute members?
No substitutes, Chair.
Could you read out the declarations received in advance, if any?
No declarations received in advance, Chair.
Right, speeding on through. Can we confirm that the minutes of the last meeting held on 7th of February 2004 are a true record of the event? Councillor Edwards, second that. Okay, so we'll move on to the annual governance report. And Matthew, can you introduce it, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so the purpose of the report is to outline the ways in which we are helping to develop the capacity of councillors in order to ensure that we are compliant with the governance arrangements attached to the local code of corporate governance. So the primary purpose of this is a way of explaining how we are providing councillors with the knowledge to do the job, essentially. And at the same time, we also give you a quick summary of the complaints received against councillors in order to just highlight the number of complaints that we receive, which can be a bit of a benchmark about the way that councillors are conducting themselves, complying with the Nolan principles and the Code of Conduct. And it just provides a barometer on the number of complaints received from people outside of the organisation, typically. Just to work my way through the report, it's divided into different sections in terms of the different ways that we try and increase the capacity of councillors. The first looks at councillor briefings. Typically, we will provide briefings to look at projects, to brief you on the work that's being done by key partners. We look at regulatory issues where there might be changes or developments, and also key policy issues relating to the council as a whole. So on the project side this year, for example, we've provided briefings on the Levelling Up Fund to give you an indication of how the money that we receive from government is being spent and how the projects are progressing. We received partner briefings from KCC Community Services, from the police, and from South East Water, connected to the Broad Oak Reservoir. On the regulatory side, we've looked at waste and fly tipping and enforcement. We've also provided briefings on PSPO. And on the policy side, we've looked at the local plan. We've looked at the ward boundary review. We've had the Electoral Commission speak to us about that. The corporate plan and the vision for the leadership, from the leadership, and of course the budget. In terms of the training that we've provided, obviously the year 23-24 was a busy year because it was the councillor induction year for post-election. That means that we have to provide quite a lot of initial training, laying the foundations on key regulatory matters such as planning and licensing, decision-making, compliance with the Code of Conduct, that kind of thing. We provide training on the finances, on media, chairing training, which this year we invited the Local Government Information Unit to come and deliver some external training. And in addition, we'll try and promote some of the external sessions that are being run by organisations such as the LGA. And I think particularly with the regulatory side, we recognise how important it is that you understand the policy context for the decisions that you're making, as well as the regulatory, which is why we make it compulsory for those attending licensing or planning to receive statutory training, for those who are signing off the accounts to make sure that they have finance training. And of course, Code of Conduct has to apply to all councillors to ensure that you are declaring interests at the appropriate time and not putting decisions at risk as a result of a non-declaration. We've also flagged here the external seminars and conferences that councillors have attended. The budget for this is extremely limited, but we do try and stretch the money as best we can. So you can see there that we've taken advantage of a number of LGA-sponsored events. Some of those are connected to the political parties, and others are general training provided. In the case of the UK 100 Leadership Academy, related to climate change and obviously on planning, we have expert trainers there who are delivering both conference and training facilities for us. Highlighting the protocols and procedures, these are mainly drawn from the Constitution, and we keep the Constitution under regular review. Those of you on the Governance Committee will know that we have a review typically twice a year, and we have a meeting coming up on Wednesday to look at the most recent changes connected to the senior management restructure. Other points to highlight, we also provide training for our parish council representatives. The parish engagement meetings are ongoing, all part of the commitment that we've made with the parish charter. Again, that was adopted last year, again, following a review. We have an undertaking now to do a review within the first year of every new administration. And I would like to think that we are living by that document and working well with our parish colleagues, two of which we have today. Finally, just on the complaints against councillors, you can see there that, sorry about there's a typo saying it's 22-23. That is actually 23-24. We had 7 complaints submitted against CCC councillors and 3 against parish councillors. These are complaints formally submitted alleging breaches of the Code of Conduct, and they're investigated by the monitoring officer or her deputies. So I don't think we can go into any detail with any of those individual complaints, but it just gives you a barometer there where when you compare it to previous years, you can see that it's typical, if not slightly lower, which is encouraging to see. The year 2021 was an exceptional one, but I think that might have been connected to the pandemic and the fact that perhaps people were worrying about other things rather than councillor conduct that year. That's it by way of introduction. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that there, Matthew. Just like to open this up for any discussion. If people have got some questions for Matthew, we'll take them now. Thanks. Councillor Edwards. Then, yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say actually that I felt that this year we've had very good training on a number of subjects, and I think that, you know, it obviously for me, I wasn't a new councillor this time, but the training seems to have had more depth, and so I just really wanted to thank Democratic Services and other colleagues in the council for the fact that, you know, we have been kept up to speed on almost every major issue that's been coming in front of us. And just to express thanks. I haven't got any other questions on the report, but thank you.
Councillor Stockley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was beaten to it. I was going to say much the same. Basically, the only other thing I have got some questions on, there are a lot of changes afoot with the MPPF, etc. So can we look forward to some more training? Thank you.
There's no one else. I've just got one quick question regarding training, or a couple of things on training. About training, sort of like a pathways document to deal with sort of distressing emails or distressing calls that we might receive, and how to handle them and how to direct them to whatever mental health or emergency service might need be. And then one on, is there anything in place for personal safety of councillors when we're sort of out and about? Whether that be some sort of little alarm or something. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just taking those points in turn. I think on the MPPF, in fact, this week is an almost unprecedented week, I think, in terms of government announcements. I can't think of another week where we've had major planning reform, major local government reform, potentially major waste reform, all in one week. There'll be no shortage of topics, I think, for the early briefings. And I think that would apply both to our city councillors and also in the parishes as well. There'll be no doubt a lot of interest in what's going on with, particularly with planning and devolution, I would have thought. So we'll be certainly looking to provide additional briefings on those topics. On the handling calls and the pathways, yes, I mean we can look at different ways that we can signpost councillors. I think if the information that we have related to sort of welfare services could be improved, then certainly there is scope for us to provide another information document that might help with that. I mean, I think the idea of the email that you have as a sort of one-stop approach for council services is designed to allow the council to work out where best to direct you in order that you don't have to remember numerous different names and numbers and contacts. So I would encourage, if you need any support, just use the generic email address and somebody will be able to signpost you, I would hope, to the correct service. On the personal safety one, we have done some training on that, but we can certainly provide more. I know, for example, that we've had some recommendations on different providers. I think the Susie Lamplugh Trust has been mentioned as an exceptionally good provider that we have used previously. This year, I think we relied on LGA training, and we've communicated some literature to all of you through the mini website from the LGA, again, which I would encourage you to have a look at, because it is really sensible in terms of the advice it's giving. If you're going to see anybody, for example, kind of just risk mitigation, things that you can put in place, different apps that you can use, all of which we would definitely encourage you to have a look at if you're at all concerned. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can just note this by general assent, if everybody's happy, so I can do that. Thank you. Item, sorry. Mr. Atkinson? Sorry, wait a sec. I think, do you want to... Just bring a card over for you. Thanks.
Thank you. During the February meeting, it was resolved that we would make amendments to the standards that councillors and district councillors and parish councillors were expected to adhere to. That would prevent them transgressing the normal protocols and then simply walking, and thus thereby making a laughingstock of being a councillor and any standards at all. And I wondered if the report might, if you might be able to update us on how far through the council's machinery that change in the protocols has got.
Yes, that went through to the Governance Committee, after Standards Committee, and then on to full council. I think it was April of this year when those amendments were agreed. So I'm happy to send you a link via email if that would help, to the new code of conduct and the arrangements.
And I just wondered, so it's now not possible simply to simply resign and walk away from your jurisdiction. That's good. Thank you very much.
I think if you're referring to the aspect of if a complaint is received in relation to a councillor who by the time of the investigation is no longer a councillor, we wouldn't be able to take any action then. We made that very clear then, that we wouldn't have any teeth, we couldn't provide any sanctions, we couldn't require them to cooperate with an investigation at that point. So on that point, we can't change that aspect.
Okay, thanks for that, clearing that up. Yeah, so we've done the general assent now, so can we go on to item number 6, which is a debate on debate not hate, and an update from Jan, please. Thank you.
I'm just finding the page, bear with me, please. Yes, so this report commences at page 15, and really just to provide an overview of what the LGA's Debate Not Hate campaign is. At full council on the 5th of January, it was agreed, that the council would sign up to the LGA's campaign requesting central government to convene a working group to develop and implement an action plan to address the issues of abuse of councillors and their safety. And at that council meeting, council added a requirement that the political group leaders of the council were to meet with the head of paid service and the monitoring officer to look at how a scheme could be implemented within the council in the new council year to look at this issue for our councillors. There's a table at page 24 that runs through the work that we've been doing behind the scenes. We've had several meetings now with the political group leaders. And in summary, really, we've had a real good look at our customer behaviour incident policy and used that really to ensure the safety of councillors in addition to officers. So we're using the same tool. So we've identified a lead to liaise with the police regarding councillors' safety. That's Lacey Dixon. We have utilised the LGA's guidance for social media use, and there's a link there that can be used. We have, as I say, used the CBI form and register and the policy as a mechanism for reporting any threats by councillors. Councillors have access to that CBI register, and any messages such as, for example, not to visit alone would be set out there. We would monitor threats and the level and what's happening there as officers, and look at any training, etc., that's been required. We've set that out, the training that's provided in paragraph 2 there of the table. We discussed at Chair's briefing that it may be helpful to have a briefing for other councillors to look at what's been done and what's available and get an understanding of how the CBI policy works for councillors, and I'd be happy to arrange that if that would be helpful. Happy to take any questions.
So over to anybody else here who wants to ask a question now, please. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Most of this is absolutely fine, and I think, you know, we have seen the evidence of the work that's been done. But the CBI index, I'm not quite sure how to access that, and I've asked a few people around and they don't either. So I think that it's just a question of course we see the alerts, they come to us individually, but of course you may not remember. I mean, I would definitely have emailed somebody if I was doing a home visit on my own, so it's not a question I wouldn't check, but I don't know how to do it myself. So I think that maybe, you know, there is some more information we need, perhaps even an email link or something like that. But I think in principle, the whole thing is a lot better than before, when we didn't really put any of this stuff on the table. And certainly what I've done really more, you know, personally, is I've done home visits in twos, which I think is, you know, more sensible. Just not that you don't necessarily know, but, you know, it probably isn't always necessary, but it's probably a good precaution. So I think a general discussion, or were you talking about an event or training, where we could talk about this and how it's working and remind people about it all, I think would be a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, well, I can't see anybody else, so thanks for the report there, Jan. Can we just note that by general assent, please? Right, noted. So item number 7 is any other urgent business to be dealt with in public. And there isn't any, so that's gone past that. And there's nothing for the exclusion of the press and public either. So that brings us on to the end. So thank you everybody for attending this evening. And I'll confirm the meeting is closing now about 7:25. Thank you.